There was an essay in the devotional this week that honestly I've been looking forward to the whole time, just anticipating, because I wanted to give the gift of Liv's words and her heart and her prayer on this to women. On Wednesday of this week, she talked about the betrayals that so many of us as women experience. She says on 91, "My heart is heavy with my own experience in this regard and that of my friends. I have beheld a part of their pain that leaves a lump in my throat. Most, all of the women I know have lived through some sort of betrayal in the realm of physical intimacy, infidelity, premarital sex, immodesty, abortion, sexual abuse, hookup culture, manipulation, pornography addiction, pressed upon us and those close to us, contraception, cohabitation, and being sought for mere pleasure plague many of our pasts or presents. The holiest women I know have not been untouched by this poison of the fall, and neither were the saints. My heart is pierced by our Lord's attention to this matter. Judas could have shouted and pointed at Jesus from across the garden in order to identify him. Jesus had the power to keep Judas at arm's length. But even this tragedy of the human heart, Jesus insisted upon bearing with us." Honestly, this whole essay, I want to just keep reading. The further good news is that Jesus often healed through touch. He used the matter of the earth, dirt, spit, water, to open the eyes of the blind. He touched people who were ruined by sin or disease. He allowed the greatest sinners to cling to him. Jesus shows us that new life can come after the most excruciating betrayal. I think in my own experience of romantic relationships, particularly sexual wounds, my default would be shame. But her words open up the experience for me that I'm not alone in it, that Jesus himself knew like intimate betrayal from someone who was supposed to be his friend. And I think in my own life, I've known intimate betrayal from people that I trusted, from men that I trusted or wanted to trust. And for Jesus to expose his own heart to that, like to take on our vulnerability in that, to enter into the experience of so many women, just really moves me. Have you had any experience of Jesus entering into a wound of betrayal or maybe sexual wounds and healing them, like with his touch, with his love? How do we do that?
I think the only experience I've had is in regards to his, like, what I would call the restoration of my innocence. So we were all created innocently. Adam and Eve were created with a sense of innocence. They were naked and didn't know it. And when my innocence was taken from me, I would say I had a displeasurable sexual experience when I was like 6 with a peer. And then stumbled upon pornography when I was around 7. And so when I've prayed with that and really like gone back to that, I simply just asked the Lord, like, where are you? And he's in that room with me. And it's like in my memory, he's protecting me, even though at that moment I didn't feel protected. But I think there's a deeper work there for him to continue to wash that memory clean with his precious blood, with his presence, so that I can be a child, which is what he wanted me to be. And yet I was like thrown into this thing that was above my age bracket.
Yeah.
Should not have been happening at that age.
Yeah.
And really throws your mind into turmoil and confusion and chaos. And so I guess I feel this invitation from him for him to restore it back to what it's supposed to be, which is an innocence and a love for another person's body, and to be intimate in a sexual or physical way that's not bad or wrong.
Yes.
Which is what that experience did to me. And for many years was ingrained in me that like my physical body is wrong or bad because this is how I'm operating within it. And so there's a lot of work to be done in that, but mostly I just like feel this pull to a restoration of my innocence, a restoration of to like look at a body and not think it's like defiled or wrong, but beautiful and sacred and holy and good and brings forth life. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. I do think the healing in this area is like deeper than we can possibly begin to fathom. Like if we knew the depth of our need for healing in this area, just by living in the culture, not even because of our painful experiences, but personal experiences, but just like the media, the music, it touches everything, you know?
Who do we see that has like a healthy view of bodies, healthy view of sex? Christopher West.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone, but maybe I do. It's not something we typically talk about. It's not typical over lunch convo.
It's something the Lord has been actively restoring for me for maybe the past 3 years, because I would be a lot like you. Like the body is shame, sex is wrong. Yeah, the body is sexual. And the healing for me began actually with the cross, which probably sounds obvious to some people, but it was totally new to me. It was like the Lord, there's a particular crucifix at a monastery that I pray at. It's probably like nearly every other crucifix, but there's something about it where Jesus is hanging nearly naked, but we know he would have been crucified naked. And he just said to me, I hold nothing back from you. You know, the words from the Eucharistic prayer, like, this is my body given up for you. And I fell in love with Jesus's naked, crucified body given up in love for me. Like the contour of his shoulders, like the strength of that, you know?
Yeah.
And the Lord sort of rewrote this like script or this instinct, what felt very instinctual because my wires had been kind of like
short-circuited.
Yeah. It's like he rewired them. When you say restoration of innocence, for me, he like rewired my circuitry around my sexuality, the way I see a man's body, the way I see my own body, and really actually broadened the definition of sexuality, like that a sexuality expresses a whole person, which is really theology of the body. Like his masculinity on the cross is an expression of who he is as God.
It's not like separated portions of us.
Yeah.
It is a whole.
Yeah.
We are whole.
That's what I think it is. Is like this reintegration.
Yes.
Like the body isn't just for sex, you know?
Definitely.
I had this moment, this like really healing grace from the Lord. I think something must have popped up on a show that I wasn't expecting. Or maybe I honestly, this is the way it is with the Lord. Like I can't even remember what happened, but I remember what he said, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just so disgusted with sex. I put that in air quotes, you know, like I just don't want anything to do with that. Like I want to live this life of purity and I just hate what that is, you know? And so gently, so lovingly, he said, you don't even know what sex is. Like I may have been exposed to pornography from a very young age. I may have seen all of these things or thought all of these things or had personal experiences, but like what it actually is, I've never experienced.
It's crazy.
I don't know what it is. And I would say that that's probably true of a lot of married people as well.
Definitely.
People who are in intimate relationships with their spouses may still even need to hear those words from Jesus. Like, you don't even know what this is. You don't know the beauty of it. You don't know the potential for love and for intimacy and for healing that could come through this self-giving, unifying act. And that was really hopeful to me.
Well, back to what I said earlier, even about, I was talking about relationships and friendships, and that sometimes we want to open ourselves up to people again if we've been wounded as children or something like that. But I think about my experience as a child in this area of physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, and there are definitely walls that are still up that I have in my marriage that the Lord needs to do a lot of healing in to rewire my brain around physical and sexual intimacy.